Okay, well, welcome everybody. For those that can make it today for another one of these brief Teams talks. Today we're going to be talking about Scopus and an Elsevier resource that we can use for literature research. You can also use it to determine impact of articles, journals, affiliations of authors, principal investigators. All that stuff here is pretty useful tool. It works a little bit differently than some of our others. So I'm no expert in it, but I know a little bit about using this resource. It's a little bit different than some of our other resources. And so just really quickly to talk about where you can find it. I know we have a lot of links to some of our popular databases underneath the databases drop down on the LUCOM library page. I don't have Scopus there right now just because I don't think it gets a whole lot of use. If it becomes more popular, I could always put a shortcut here. But if you want to access it, you can click on this link to A to Z medical databases, which pulls up all of our electronic resources in our research guide. And these are alphabetical, and Scopus is right here. It's important to use that link if you're off campus, because like you probably know from our other resources, all these links are wrapped in easy proxy, so they use that single sign-on. So if you're off campus at home or a different office and you click on this link, you'll be prompted to sign in with your Liberty username and password. So something I wanted to mention before we started looking at some of the features of searching Scopus, I wanted to talk about Mesh really quick. I don't know if anybody uses PubMed or PubMed link to do literature research, but
Yes.
if you go to the PubMed page, either from you can go to pubmed.gov or you can use our link on the library page. Down here underneath Explore, you'll find Mesh database, and that actually takes you to something that the NIH makes where you can actually search for their controlled vocabulary. And you may have used that in PubMed, but what's kind of cool is Scopus actually uses that Mesh controlled vocabulary, those medical subject headings. So for the terms that you find here in Mesh, you can actually use those to do more targeted searches in Scopus. So they kind of make use of that. So like an example would be, if I'm looking at heart attack in Mesh, it'll tell me, oh, I want to use myocardial infarction. And I can use that term over here in my Scopus search to find more targeted resources. So looking at Scopus, you can see here, you can search for documents. If you know the article title, you can search by author and also affiliations, which is kind of cool because I was looking at some of all the research in here that's affiliated with Liberty University, which is kind of neat. Something I want to mention, if you are searching, this uses a little bit more advanced, more like kind of like it comes naturally to a librarian, but it might not seem so natural if you're not, in libraries. But it uses phrase searching, which you may have used in other resources. So if I were to say type myocardial infarction and were to search on that, that would return, in this case, documents that included myocardial and or infarction as separate terms. If I want to actually search that term myocardial infarction, this makes use of quotation marks for phrase searching. And so searching with quotation mark myocardial infarction quotation mark, you'll actually be finding documents that include those terms together and search them that way. And if I go ahead and just search.
Is the plus gone? Do you not do it with the plus anymore? Was that an old thing?
That's in PubMed.
Oh, in PubMed only. Okay.
But this has another way I'm going to show you how you can combine your searches.
Okay.
So this pulls up obviously our articles, and what's kind of cool is you get over here. It's got facets, so we can see what's open access. We can see what year it's published, author's name, and just like I've shown before in PubMed, if we have, what's cool about using the link to Scopus is if we have access to that full text article electronically. This button, the graphic got kind of twisted, but you can kind of see there it says get it at Liberty. So this will link directly to the full text if you're finding these articles here. Let's see here. What else did I want to say? So if I go back and let's say I've looked up myocardial infarction, and if you've used PubMed, you'll know your search history is very similar here. It starts title, abstract, keyword, myocardial infarction, excuse me, and it shows you how many results are for. That's quite a lot. But this is our first search. If we were to go to search hypertension, That's going to pull back articles that just have to do with hypertension. And if I go back to my search here, you'll see that in the history. So it's got first myocardial infarction, second hypertension. So whereas in PubMed, it was a little bit easier. I think it's a little bit more intuitive for combining certain, you want to do this and this together. But in Scopus, if we want to combine sets, you have to click on Advanced Document Search. And you'll see it's got this little thing for enter your query string. And you go down here to the bottom of that page and it says combine queries. But it's a little bit, not cumbersome is not the word, but it gives you an example here of how you use Boolean operators with the number of your search. So if I want to search myocardial infarction as a phrase search and also hypertension, the way I would do that is #1, then my Boolean operator and #2. That's going to find the combined results of my hypertension search and my myocardial infarction search. And that's going to bring back results that include both. Does that make sense for everybody? So just a little bit different. There's a little bit more syntax and actually writing your queries. And also something I don't know if anyone uses wildcards or truncation, but if you were looking for, say, everything that included hypertension, hypertensive, whatever, you can use this star symbol as a truncation and it will find all the results that include that root of that word. So I said we can use Boolean operators, we use our mesh terms. Something that you can also do if you're using this for literature research, let's say I'm going to go back to my myocardial and hypertension. Let's see here, where can I? So I can select these and download. Okay, maybe that's, I'm looking for, you can actually export your citations as a RIS file. So if you're using a citation manager, like for instance, the university provides access to RefWorks. I also like Zotero. If you use that, you can actually export your citations as a .RIS file and import those into your citation manager if you're using that. The other thing I wanted to show was you could search by author, and what's kind of cool, I was looking at this earlier, and Dr. Hogirl actually has, I guess, I don't know if this is okay with him for me to share this, but it's just kind of neat. He's in here, it shows his affiliation. I mentioned you could search by affiliation, so if you were looking for VCOM or EVMS or whatever you're looking for, whoever's affiliation, you can find by affiliation there. I can find all the other authors that have citations in here from Liberty University. But I see I have 18 documents in here for Dr. Hogirl that he's published. And this will bring up citations for all of the articles they have access to that he's published, his affiliation with Liberty University, how many times he's been cited, how many co-authors. I mentioned that in the past, if you've used Web of Science, you're familiar with, with impact factor. Scopus uses a few different metrics at different levels for you to measure the impact of a journal or an author or an article. The author level impact is, they call it a H index, and his it looks like it's 5 right here. Shows how many times this article was cited by 98 documents. Something else they use, the specific score they use in place of impact factor is something called the Simago journal rank, and that's just for the journal level. Like for example, if I were to go here, this first article for organizational behavior among academic medical school faculty, and click on Journal of Osteopathic Medicine, it gives me that site score. This is just how it's. I'm not sure how it compares to impact factor, but they're collecting the same metrics. They just call them something else. And again, there's journal level metrics, there is article level metrics, and then author level metrics that measure impact. And this doesn't have a SNP here, which is something I've learned about, but that's your source normalized impact per paper. So I guess that takes into account the author's impact, the journal score, how many times it's been cited and creates this. I'm not sure why this doesn't have one. So let's see here. Something else you can do that is article level or author level metrics is they call them PlumX. And I'm not, like I said, I've used this resource some, but I'm not 100% sure on why those level metrics are considered. See if I can find it here. I don't see it. Can't find the PlumX. Well, some of these have author level metrics that they call a PlumX score. I'm not really sure how that's calculated or anything. But something else real quick, last thing I wanted to show.
Wait, can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, sure.
So when I get these emails all the time that say 44 people have reviewed your article, is that related to that? What is that? Is that related to that? Or is that just a number of views that has nothing to do with any of these metrics?
I'm not sure if that's related to these or not.
Okay.
And these, I know it'll show you how many times the article's been cited. I think it also shows you, let's see if I can find how many people have read the article, at least from this resource. See if I can find it here. No, I guess this is just showing the authors that have cited Dr. Hogel's article in this. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's related to this or not, Dr. Mental.
Okay, just thought I'd ask.
Something else you can do is if you have you find your own publication in here, or you want to know if people are citing your work, you can actually set citation alerts, and you have to create an account. I'm already signed in up here under my, and you can set up an account for free with this resource, but you can actually set citation alerts. So if anybody cites some of your work, you'll actually get an update, and maybe that's related to what you're talking about, Dr. Mental, but you'll get like an update that lets you know someone has cited your work in this, this article in this journal.
Okay.
So that's just the basics of what's here. This resource could be used for literature searches. You could use this to kind of, I know a lot of times faculty want to know what want to do something with their portfolio that shows all of the articles that they've published over their career. You can use this for that. And again, I mentioned it, but you can look for affiliations and say, I want to find all of the, let's see, well, I should have typed it. There it is, Liberty University. I want to find all of the publications that are coming with this affiliation. It shows you which fields they're in. We've got 179 in medicine. That's pretty cool. But yeah, you can see how you could use this to find different metrics associated with your journals or with your articles, or you could just use it for literature research. So.
Okay, question on the site manager reference thing. So when it pulls it, and you said it can pull it into reference manager, or the one you and I use, that one I can never remember the name of, the one you like.
There's Zotero. I like Zotero.
Yeah, that's the one.
So yeah, you can.
Does it take? Is it a certain format? Like, does it take it in Chicago or MLA or?
I think it'll conform to what set you're using in your citation manager. But I want to see.
Okay. That would be helpful if it does that.
If I export, I haven't actually done this. So we want to use. You want to use, whether you use RefWorks or Zotero, they both use this RIS format.
Okay.
And see, EndNote uses it too. It's just a popular format.
Yeah.
So if I were to export that, it's going to save it as a scopus.irs, or I can choose this, open it with Zotero. I have Zotero set, so that's the one I like. So it should have, yeah, it pulls up.
I didn't know if you could set it and say, show, because like if you could say like one I just did, wanted it all in Chicago, and I wondered if you could set it into, say, go to Chicago or something like that. I don't know if it.
I don't know if there's a way to, when you export it from Scopus, I don't know if there's a way to export it in a particular style. But if all the metadata is there for the records, then it should conform to whatever style you're choosing in your citation manager.
Citation manager. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's everything for today. Thank you guys for coming that had time. And again, if you want to watch this again, I'm gonna we recorded this, so I'm gonna upload it to our YouTube channel and have a link on the research guide. And I'm happy to help anybody with this resource that might be interested in it. So
I have one more question.
Sure.
And then I'll quit asking questions, but do you recommend that you search in PubMed with the mesh term first, then import it into this, or you think go to this?
I think if you're using this for a literature search, it's just useful to know that you can use that same controlled vocabulary that Mesh is for PubMed.
Okay.
So if you're not sure the best terms to use for Scopus, the controlled vocabulary that is the Mesh subject headings is also used in Scopus.
Okay.
So,
thanks.
Yep. Well, thank you guys. I hope you guys have a good rest of your afternoon.
All right, thank you, Rob.
Absolutely.
Yeah.